This is for a resolution to declare June 26 by resolution Mark Rogers Day. This is not the first time this body has done so. After the passing of Claudie Royals and the next year the passing of Dr. Leo Scott, we had similar resolutions. Claudie Royals was an activist in this community for over 50 years, and Dr. Leo Scott was the first African American to be elected to the Abilene City Council. And so we set a day aside for both of them in just respect for their contribution. I would also say that honoring Mark Rogers in this way is consistent with identifying great Abilenians that have made significant contributions. We will allow a public hearing and allow those who want to speak either for or against this to do so. We'll have a 3-minute limit. Those are my comments on that. I believe Councilman Hurt, we also had a resident want to talk about, citizen want to talk about it. Okay. Anybody on the council want to make any comments prior to the public hearing? At this time, I'll open up the public hearing. Is there one that wants to speak either for or against this item? If so, come forth, give your name for the record. Start with you, Mr. Swartz.
Good evening, Council. David Swartz for the record. Only thing I had was, I think you might have covered it in your short deal there. I just wondered if it was a day of recognition or actually some type of paid holiday. And since you're alluded to, it sounds like it's just a day of recognition. Of course, I don't have a lot ever meeting Mark Rogers. I only know him from his television broadcast when he was a sports personality on one of the TV stations. I think it's probably a good thing, but I would hope sometime in a future council, since we're doing these recognition days, you know, back in the 80s and 90s, Abilene's birthday was always brought up. I don't know if we've ever had a council resolution or making March 15th the Abilene's birthday when it was town lots were sold in 1881. I know, like I said, in the 80s and 90s, it was always brought up with a railroad festival, and they go downtown and paint on the street down there on 6th in Cypress. But I'm not opposed at all for this. I just wanted to know if it was simply a day of recognition, and I hope a future council meeting will consider Abilene's birthday also. Thank you very much this evening.
Thank you, David. And this is for a recognition. This is a resolution, not additional city paid holiday. We're still in the public hearing. Is anyone else who want to speak either for or against this item? If so, please come forth. Give your name for the record.
Good afternoon, Council. Travis Ruiz, and I have the distinct pleasure of serving as the chairman of the board of directors for Big Brothers Big Sisters Abilene. Thanks so much for having us here, and thank you for considering honoring our great friend, Mark Rogers. I say our because he was a friend of every one of us here in this room, and the legacy that he leaves is beyond that of any other person that I've known in this city. When I moved here 4.5 years ago, Mark was one of the very first people that I got to meet. He sold me on the mission of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I have the pleasure of having my own little, who I met for the first time yesterday. And the first person I wanted to call was Mark, because I know that he would be so proud to know that his legacy is continuing. And Saturday would have been his 40th birthday, and how fitting is it that we as a city can honor a man that has not only touched me, but has touched so many people. And we can continue to use his legacy to honor others, not only through the mission of Big Brothers Big Sisters, but through everything that each of us does every single day. I think we can all make our mark. And so on behalf of the board of directors and the staff of Big Brothers Big Sisters, thank you for honoring, like I said, our friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. If anyone else would like to speak either for or against this item?
Good evening, Council. So my name is London Gray, and a few weeks ago I was a student athlete at the University of Georgia, but now I stand before you as a proud Wildcat. Mark Rogers was beyond a dear friend to me and my family. He can be credited with raising me with my father in their college homes, as they were college roommates here at ACU. Mark was always someone that I admired for his individuality, and opportunities to see or hear from him in my more recent years was never less than a blessing. His smile radiated genuine care, and his presence was a remedy to life's hardships. My parents called me on the evening of March 13th and told me Mark had passed. I immediately fell to the floor and wept. A blinding light had been taken from the world, and there was no sense to be made from it. I later returned home for the summer and attended Mark's memorial service on May 15th. I sat on a row with old ACU football players who insisted I knew that they once changed my diapers. We all watched Mark's life through pictures, home videos, and personal stories, all of which caused a shared internal reflection on how pathetic our lives had been in comparison. Mark lived his 39 years to the absolute fullest. Multiple people, some of whom I didn't even know, told me how much Mark loved me. Mark and his neighbors would frequently watch the Cowboys games together, but one game day Mark insisted that the game would be recorded and watched later. He wanted to watch my match instead, even though I was a bench warmer. Mark sent me a video of him smiling and pointing at a glimpse of my face that happened to appear on the TV during a timeout. To be loved in such a visible way that you feel unworthy of it is a gift, and it is one that we all need to give more. My family and I left his service in worse shape than when we had arrived. Rather than feeling closure, questions of why heavily circulated in the car. But it is in these moments that conviction holds its greatest power. With no comprehensible answer, we looked forward into our changed lives, ones that would be lived more fully and more for others. During the memorial service, a man spoke about Mark's role with Big Brothers Big Sisters and in his roles in any Abilene community event. And not much later, I thought to myself, I want to serve like Mark did. And I felt a punch from something unseen into my chest with the words, "Go to ACU." So I did. And I know God used that moment of understanding Mark's service to direct me towards his will. In his death, Mark has become the ultimate servant, expanding God's kingdom and inspiring others to follow his lead. Mark's legacy will not only live on with those he inspired, but also with those who are yet to be served. A day honoring Mark is a day honoring faithful devotion, selfless servitude, and authentic love. A life honoring Mark is a life honoring the Lord. Thank you.
Anyone else? And a little bit about that story. So she, one of the top volleyball athletes in the state, was at an SEC school and transferred back to ACU because she thought she could make her mark. That preaches. Thank you. We're still in a public hearing. Anyone else want to speak for or against this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. I want to recognize Urban and Melissa Rogers, the parents of Mark Rogers. They are here today. I got a text message from Jen earlier today. Her and the children were in youth camp this week, and she could not be here, but want to send her regards and her appreciation for the council considering this resolution that is before us. Does council have any comments or any remarks?
I'd like to say just a couple of quick words. Mark had an absolute contagious energy that you could feed off of. You know, if you want to get something done, you find the busiest person you can to get it done, and he could complete the job. So, thanks.
Anybody else?
I'll say something. I know I had an opportunity to speak. First and foremost, the Rogers family, I hope you guys have taken an opportunity to look around this room and see. I know you've seen so many people that have been touched by your son, but this is incredible. Thank all of you guys for being here. There's so many people that represent ACU, First Financial, and just different components of our city. So it's just nice to see all of you guys here. I am a huge fan of Maya Angelou, and many of us have heard the phrase, people often forget what you've done for them, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And Mark made every single one of us in this room feel so special, even though he was, as you said, the busiest man in the room. So thank you for embarking on a journey to raise a young man who was so aware of his calling to live beyond who he is. So thank you guys for that.
Dr. Craver, thank you for your words. You know the comments from the council? I'll accept the motion in a second. If not,
So moved.
I have a motion by Dr. Travis Craver. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Shane Price. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, we're ready to vote.
Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Craver.
Yes.
Councilmember Price.
Yes.
Councilmember Beard.
Yes.
Councilmember Albus.
Yes.
Councilmember Hurt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McAllister.
Yes.
And Mayor Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'm going to present 2 plaques. I'm going to present 1 plaque tonight for Urban and Melissa, and we'll get the other plaque to Jen. Also, is Jacob in the audience this evening? Mark's Little.
He couldn't make it. I have his letter here for him, but he was not up to making it today.
Okay. I continue prayers for Jacob and all those who love Mark. And while I present this plaque to the Rogers, all those who came out this evening to support this effort, why don't you stand and we'll recognize you. Don't be shy. This goes to you on behalf of the Abilene City Council and also the citizens of this community. Any words you want to say? Let me get a mic for you, Urban.
Thanks. I was in better shape until the people started talking a while ago. I want to first of all say thank you very much to the council, mayor, for this honor, and Mark loved Abilene. We sent him off to school from Plano, and he never left. We knew that he knew a lot of people when we moved here, but we had no idea of the vast number of people ranging from just all this socioeconomic spectrum of Abilene. He was very connected and into all those, and he, from the time he was little, he was always trying to help people, and he was counselor at Christian camps and things growing up, and one of his buddies he played football with in high school. Some of you may have seen there's a Facebook group called Mark Rogers Stories, and you can go on there and read some of these things. But Ryan was telling us that one day he was yelling at some other players because they weren't hustling. Well, the coach got mad at him and made him run some extra gassers. And Mark, the team, each gasser was longer and longer. So eventually the whole team was outside the fence that surrounded the track. So when Ryan had to do this, Mark jumped the fence and ran him with him. And he's just that way. So thank you so much, and for the love and support that we've been shown, and that Abilene is such a wonderful place. We moved here about 4 years ago because he said he wanted to be the one to take care of us, listen to me when he got old. So he'll have to do it a different way now. So thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mark Rogers, a great example. And Craig Rideout and Dylan Cobb, thank you and your families for ministering to this family. Thank you very much.